Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Transfer Portal CFB presented by No Context CFB Week 4 preview today. Before we get into it, please make sure to like and subscribe. Helps us out in seismic ways. Got Brian on with me today as well as our special guest, former Rice Owl Taylor McHargue. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, doing well. Just excited to talk college football with you, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's we got a big slate coming up. This is gonna be a good weekend.
Indeed, it is. Brian, storyline you're most looking forward to, man. What is it?
So my favorite storyline is who's legit. That's kind of the biggest question that I have is who's legit. This is going to be one of those weeks where, there's a lot of matchups. There's a lot of teams that are kind of facing their biggest tests of the year, the biggest litmus test. Uh, Colorado, Washington State, Oregon State, Utah, Ole Miss, Alabama. I mean, these matchups are they're really going to show us who's going to rise and who's really kind of been given an easier early slate. So I'm really interested to see who's legit. They're obviously with Colorado with the big story that they've been all season. A big game against Oregon is really going to show a lot. Same with Notre Dame and Ohio State. So that's my storyline is who's legit and who's not. Who's going to rise up and who's going to kind of fall to the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of teams going to show you that this week. How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, I've kind of got two. I mean, one is, and I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said on Colorado, right? I mean, that's the one that this will be really, I think, the first true test of the year for them. And I know last week against Colorado State took 2 overtimes to come back. That certainly was a test in a way that I don't think they were expecting. But this is a different level of physicality that I think they'll see at Oregon. The other one is how does Texas look in their first action in the Big 12 on the road? Baylor's historically a tough place for Texas to play. Well, I don't know if Blake Shapen is going. It doesn't look like he is based on the comments this week from Dave Aranda. But not a great showing from Texas, especially offensively against Wyoming. Kind of sleptwalked through the first 3 quarters. But if they're legit, you will find out, I think, in a big way this week.
Yeah, so we just recorded the upset special that we do weekly this week, and our guy Dylan took Baylor to beat Texas.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do. They kind of have these signature wins, and then a couple of weeks later they falter against somebody unexpected. We saw a few years ago when they beat Notre Dame, and and then they ended up losing to Kansas. I think it was later that season. So yeah, Texas is they're not. It's not like they haven't done this before, but they have this big signature win, and then they lose to Kansas or Baylor or somebody down the line.
They were flirting with disaster against Wyoming a few days ago. Like they're not immortal. There's not. I have a few that I want to go with, but I'll just go with one, man. And I'm picking on them so much ever since the summer because their hype was blown out proportion. The dairy raid. The spoiled dairy raid. I need to see Wisconsin put a complete game together. So that's my biggest storyline. You're playing a Friday night road test at Purdue. Wisconsin has played Buffalo, Washington State, and Georgia Southern. The scores in the first half have been 14-10, 24-9, and 7-7 before they then play much better second halves with the adjustments that Fickle and Longo and friends are making. Put a complete game together. Prove me wrong. I haven't seen that. We're seeing the run game dominate these second halves. Where is it in the first half? I don't know. I need to see a complete game from Wisconsin, or else they're going to get picked off by Purdue. And this first year under Fickle's not going as people playing. How about so Taylor, what game are you calling this week?
I've got Tulane this week. I've got Nichols at Tulane, which I think Tulane's obviously going to be heavily favored. I'm looking forward to getting down there, and we don't know yet what's going to happen with Michael Pratt or if it's Kai Horton again, but it's a really good team. I thought that was a better win than people are giving them credit for over Southern Miss on the road. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, Tulane's got 2 really good games, in my opinion. Avenging the Southern Miss loss last year, then the South Alabama shutdown was really good. Personally, I don't think Pratt's gonna go. I think you're gonna see Horton, but
Yeah.
dude, as someone who came into the season kind of doubting Tulane and expecting regression, that defense is so good. They're so fast and quick to the ball, violent, closing speed, and everything. Like, their defense never really gets enough credit because all the attention is on the offense, right? So, and yeah, playing Nichols, like, defense should shine.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. They Nichols, I was supposed to have them against TCU a couple weeks ago, and it's a tough stretch. I mean, they played TCU, had a bye week, and now Tulane before they get back to FCS foes. But yeah, regardless, anytime you get down to New Orleans for a game, that's a good weekend.
Any good spots you're looking forward to going to?
I got a list from my buddy Ryan Griffin, who played at Tulane back in the day when I was at Rice, and he sent me a few. I don't have any of them off the top of my head. I'm just gonna sort of blindly trust that everything he sent me was good. So I'll keep you guys posted on where we end up for dinner.
Sounds
Can't
good,
go wrong
man.
in New Orleans.
I've never been there, man, but everyone's always told me I'd love it there and love the food there and the gumbo and everything. Never been though, man.
Yeah, got to get down there. Got to pick a Tulane game. Make a Tulane / Baton Rouge weekend out of it. South Louisiana is a special place.
It is.
Now, as we all continue to echo, and people seemingly either don't listen or they just, I don't know, they just listen and deflect it and don't really care. College football has an endless amount of talent. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Alabama, Georgia, if we're talking about like Toledo and New Hampshire. There's dudes everywhere. Who are some guys that have excited both you throughout the country in these last few weeks?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a name that Sam Hartman is a guy that I was so interested to see what does he look like for Notre Dame, and does he elevate them in a way that makes them a contender? And I think he certainly has. We knew at Wake Forest that he was one of the best deep ball throwers in the country, and that historically is really what Notre Dame has missed out on. They've been really poor in that category in explosive plays throwing the football. And we're going to get into it a little bit later, but this weekend coming up against Ohio State, I think this is going to be the moment where if he goes out and performs and they win this game and he plays well, you're going to see him get the same reaction that Quinn Ewers did after beating Alabama. And I think that's a guy, at least to me, that I met him at the Manning camp. He's a nice guy. His teammates loved him and was just pulling forward just as a fan of the sport. And it's been nice to see how he's played early in the season. And this, I mean, everybody in the country is going to be watching them against Ohio State on Saturday.
Yeah, a win would be pretty nice too for his Heisman campaign. Some are
No
saying.
doubt.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hartman's a good one. I mean, he's definitely been very, very fun to watch. I kind of went this the same route with quarterback, and it might be an easy a cherry picking answer, but I went with Shedeur Sanders. I mean, like, just what he's doing. Look, I know, Coach Prime in Colorado, the whole hype around that was going to be, a big deal since last year. I mean, I've never seen a 1-11 team get so much preseason hype. But I mean, at least Shedeur specifically, it's been well warranted. I mean, he's been playing great football. I mean, he's second in the country in passing yards, and he's doing what he needs to do to win, and then some. That comeback of last week against Colorado State, albeit Colorado State, they should have probably not have been that close. There were 20+ point favorites. Colorado was so. But still, I mean, just the things that he's been able to do. Losing Travis Hunter was obviously the big deal, and to be able to continue to make plays. And that pass he made, I think it was in overtime, where he just stood in the pocket, he just took a hit, and he slung the ball in the end zone, and found the receiver. I think it was for the 2-point conversion or for the touchdown in overtime. I forget which one it was, but just that poise and that was just it left me speechless. And I mean, it's been so much fun to watch. It really is. I've never thought in my life that I would stay up until 2 a.m. watching Colorado State, and here I was on Saturday, just sleep deprived, watching watching college football since 11 a.m. Watching this game unfold, it was incredible, and I think the hype is real. I think the Heisman talk is legit with Shador, and obviously there's a lot of football left to be played. I think this week is a big test for him, and with not having Travis Hunter is, like I said, it's going to be a big deal, I think. But that's when people step up the most. That's when the true color shine is when you don't have your best players on the field and see what you can do. With those limitations.
Yeah, I'm very happy that people are seeing the Shador Sanders that I and several others saw light it up at Jackson State and take over. Watching those games, especially the Orange Bowl Classic game against Florida A&M, and just watching that talent radiate, and then doing like in-game interviews on the sidelines and referring to himself as 2, as if he was Dion referring to himself as 21 or something, was wild. Like, the similarities that those two have is so sick. And I'm so glad that, one, Sanders is taking over and people are seeing it, and 2, you and a whole lot of other people on the East Coast are staying up late to watch Colorado. So 3, why on earth do we have to keep sticking them in the big noon kickoff time slot? SC, Colorado at big noon really, really irks me.
That's why I love living in Texas, because Central Time is the best time zone, because it's not too early and it's not too late. It is. It's just Central Time zone. That's the best time.
I agree.
11 a.m. is the early games. 11 a.m. It's not too early. It's not too late. You're kind of waking. You're up. You're kind of had your breakfast. You're kind of hanging out. You watch the 11 o'clock game, and then the Pac-12 After Dark doesn't end. Latest 1, 2 a.m., which is it might be late for some, but it's not 3 or 4 a.m. like some other people have to endure.
So what do I get on the Pacific? I get like 9 a.m. to like 11-ish. I like that personally. And then it gives me some more time to write and stuff.
Waking up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday is hard.
It is. But I've gotten used to it over the years, man. I'm a lot better at it now than I was when I was like 15 or something. Some of the players that have really impressed me, I mean, it kind of, Blake Watson at Memphis, seeing what he did against Navy's defense, just bouncing off defenders with relative ease. I don't know how many of me it would take to tackle him. Probably like 52 of me to tackle him. He's going to get so much NFL love in these next few months because of his dynamic receiving ability as well. There's just so many more players though, man. Like Riley Leonard, we're not even close to seeing the best of him and why he's potentially QB3 or QB4 in the upcoming draft. How many players can I rattle off? I don't want to take the whole day. And Tyler Nubin at Minnesota has been absolutely thriving in the secondary. Malachi Corley hopefully getting back to full health. Let's talk about 2 guys last Saturday who made a lot of money and secured draft capital. Was Malachi Corley against Ohio State with a really good showing, and then Torrey Horton against Colorado with a massive showing. Talk about one of the most rare opportunities that you might ever see for a group of 5 player. Being able to play in front of 9 million plus people watching on TV against a Deion Sanders-led Colorado team. I mean, Torrey Horton did more than take advantage of his opportunity. He became a millionaire because of it. So I've been super impressed with him this season, because as someone that has watched Torrey since the Nevada days, 2020, when he was catching balls from Carson Strong next to Romeo Dobbs and Cole Turner, his game has evolved in ways that you really wouldn't have thought. The movement that he was showing against Colorado, that quick, sudden slide step in violence, that's not something that he really had in his bag in Reno. So I love seeing him thrive. And again, I could name like 70,000 more players. So I'll say one more. Quinton Mitchell, Toledo's a star, going to be a top 62-ish pick in the NFL draft, I think. So remember that name. Remember that name. Next up, this is that topic. If you could change one thing about the team to fix them for the better, what team would you fix and what would you do to do it? I don't know what I was cooking when I did this, but
it's a hard question, man. you're playing God a little bit with the team. I'll go with the team that I probably know the best and I follow closest because it's my alma mater. Rice is off to a great start. They're 2-1, had a big win over Houston, but under Mike Bloomgren, they have been known for running the ball well, and they're not doing that really so far this season. Now the stats are skewed a little bit because they opened with Texas, who has one of the best front sevens in the country. Houston was a little bit different because there were opportunities to throw the ball downfield, and Rice took advantage of it. And they threw, JT Daniels threw for over 400 yards, so you can't. It's hard to nitpick. And then again against TSU in the first half and change into the third quarter when all the starters were in, still not running the ball real well between the tackles. So that is what, if in a perfect world, if I could draw something up for Rice to improve in one area, it would be running the ball specifically between the tackles. Again, getting push with those interior offensive linemen. How you do that, I am not a run game specialist, so I don't have a great answer for you. But I think clearly running right at people from the center and guard spots and trying to push people around is not working, at least as well as they had hoped. So I'm not sure if that means you're clearing people out, being out of empty, utilizing more motion, trying to get linebackers to move out of the box and clear out some of that junk in the middle. But that's the one area. It's averaging just over 100 yards a game on the ground, and that for a Mike Bloomgren style team, that's not their forte. Now, again, it's hard to nitpick because the season's going really well. They're a road favorite at South Florida this week. I am a happy alumni for any Rice Owls that see this. But if you ask me to pick one area that I would want to improve a little bit, I think it would be that.
I like that call, man. And look, watching Rice is really fun right now. I'm really like, I don't know, it's just kind of refreshing to see Rice be pretty good. And Tuiasa Sopo's in his bag cooking.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, Tui looks great. Play calling's been awesome. We really enjoyed our call or our meeting with them last week. And we were talking about this, before we came on, but JT Daniels seems like he's in a really good place mentally. I think he feels really appreciated there. And this is different from the other spots he's been. I mean, there's just not nearly as much pressure at a place like Rice as there is at SC or Georgia or even West Virginia for that matter. And you could tell he's playing ball. His teammates, they value him, and I think that's important to him. He seems like he's having fun.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think it's good. Just real quick on Jace Daniels, I think it's good to I think it's a good example to show other players across the country that who are of his stature, who have been where he has been, being starters for these big Power Five conference teams where you don't. It's okay for you to go down to nothing against Rice or any of these teams, but to go to one of these teams where the pressure is not on you and you can kind of just ball out and put something on film, and I think that's a good example to set, and he's definitely been balling out. I kind of went with the little homerish pick as well. I went with UTSA, which is my school where I went to school, and look, Tulane and UTSA were the talk of the American Conference in the offseason. Obviously coming back-to-back Conference USA championships, they probably have one of the most experienced rosters in the country. Not a lot of turnover. They lost a couple of pieces to the NFL and to the transfer portal, but the main foundation was there. And then just injuries has been decimating this team. Frank Harris has missed. He's been banged up. He was banged up in the season opener against Houston. Kind of didn't play up to what he's capable of through 3 interceptions, and lost that game. Very close. I think it was 3 or 4 points. It was one possession game there at the end. And last week against Army, another he missed. He did not play in that game, and Army ended up winning that game as well. And it just shows that how fragile a season is. Just 1 or 2 injuries can derail a whole season. And we were talking about UTSA being one of the teams that are in the contention to be the Group of 5 representative in the New Year's Six Bowl. I had them going 11-1 with their only loss to Tennessee, which is this coming weekend, and now they're facing a 1-3 start. I mean, obviously, not making any big predictions to beat Tennessee, by any means, but so yeah, they're looking at a 1-3 start where Frank, where there could have easily with health, with Frank Harris being healthy and DeCorian Clark, he's their best receiver. He's been out all season too. They're just little injuries here and there all through season. It's been the talk since the offseason, since the spring camp. They've had pretty much injuries to a lot of key guys. Rashad Wisdom missed all spring with injuries, and a lot of the receivers missed the spring with injuries, and it's kind of catching up to them. What was one of the most experienced rosters in football is now kind of showing their inexperience a little bit, kind of filling the gaps and plugging holes where these injuries are popping up. And I think that's kind of derailed this team, and which is unfortunate because it is the last kind of iteration of this team that you're going to see. It's a lot of these guys. I mean, Frank Harris is a super senior. It's the 7th season with UTSA. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. If I could change something, I'd be injuries. Injuries suck in sports, especially in football, and it's sad to see what it's done to UTSA. But they got a lot of time to right the ship. To have a big game at the end of the season against Tulane, so that could definitely, everything is still in front of them. The conference championship and a New York Six Bowl bid is still within grasp. But yeah, injuries have definitely made the season not as fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like refreshing Twitter, it seems, or rather looking up the status of DeCorian Clark and if he's going to be healthy since about, I don't know, UConn won the national championship against San Diego State. Like, I've been so worried about his rehabbing process and everything, and it just stinks not being able to watch him play, man. I think another, obviously, like, it's tough watching Frank Harris right now, even when he's out there on the field. The loss of
right.
Will Stein, man, like, can't be over emphasized enough. That's a massive loss for that offense and that program. And it's just tough watching UTSA right now. But hey, like you said, early in the season, if it's a 1-3 start, so what? Rattle off a great AAC season and get back on track right to where Traylor wants them. For mine kind of two teams, different teams, same conference, kind of paired together here. Play calling and offensive scheming. Clemson and Virginia. I need something to be fixed there very bad. I don't know how long I've had to be outspoken on the Clemson offense, and while everyone's so angry at DJU, and I'm like, dude, stop, please. Just look at the offense, watch the games, and realize it's not his fault entirely. The quarterbacks in these offenses are not set up for success. That's the case right now with Cade Klubnik. That's the case right now with Tony Muskett or Anthony Colandrea. While I do believe Colandrea is the better option in Virginia, it's when Muskett's out there, they're not putting him like set up for success, and that's a big issue. And for how outspoken I've been about this, I've had numerous people DM me this season and just say, like, about Virginia more specifically than Clemson, because I think people really did know of Clemson's issues. People have been DMing me this season like, I'm actually watching Virginia football now, and I can see why you've ranted about them through tweets for the last year plus. This is a terrible offensive product, and their play calling's an absolute joke. Both these programs need to figure it out. Tony Elliott should probably be giving up his play calling duties, and they need an entirely different scheme, because once the script is gone, it's just spamming swings and screens, and that's not going to win you college football games, man. It's just not. And when you've got two stud receivers like Washington and Fields, get the ball in their hands and let them cook. Get them in the vertical passing game. Figure stuff out. For Clemson, when Dabo came out, 15 minutes seemingly before the Duke game, it was like, yeah, we brought Garrett Riley in to run the Clemson offense. Red flags everywhere. That's not what, if you're bringing in Garrett Riley and you're throwing him the bag, one of the splashiest moves in the offseason, and you want him to run the Clemson offense instead of what he was cooking at TCU that got little old TCU, little old Texas Christian in to the national championship. I don't know. We got to figure it out.
it's different when you don't have a generational quarterback under center at
To
Clemson.
bail you out. Yeah, it really is different, eh?
Yeah, it's tough to see for sure.
It's crazy how good Trevor Lawrence makes himself look through the NFL and everything, and then how much better he'll even look because of what's been going on at Clemson in their offense the last few seasons. How about some players to watch this week? One Power Five, one Group of Five / FCS, starting with you, Taylor.
Oh man, I'll go group of five first. Preston Stone. Pay attention to I believe it's the battle for the Iron Skillet.
Yep.
SMU at TCU. We had TCU in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, and Preston Stone outplayed Dylan Gabriel. He was the better quarterback. We'll get to picks later on, but a little foreshadowing for I think they have the better quarterback again in this matchup, and that's a guy that, as you fast forward over the next couple of years, I'm not sure how long he's going to play in college, but people need to wrap their heads around the fact that SMU probably steps into the ACC not at the bottom, but they will be in the middle of the pack year one. They are better right now than 5, maybe 6 teams in the ACC right now. And a big part of that is Preston Stone. So I will go Preston Stone. And again, and I'm going back to my answer from earlier. Player to watch for me, and I'm keeping it close to home, is Quinn Ewers for Texas at Baylor, because he's gone pretty subpar performance, played well against Alabama, subpar performance again against Wyoming. Find some consistency. That's again one I live in Austin, so it's close to home for me. I'm paying attention to those two quarterbacks in the state of Texas.
Yeah, no, those are really good. For my group of five, I actually went down to the FCS level, and I've been keeping an eye on Nate Lynn from William and Mary. He was named the FCS Defensive Player of the Week last week, and dude, this guy's a stud. I mean, he's really anchoring, that William and Mary defense, and they've been really, really good this year. They're ranked 5th in the country. They face a Maine team who is not good at all. I mean, they're 0-5 going back to last season. They're started the season 0-3. They're not very good at all. So I look for Nate Lynn to lead the tribe, to lead that defense and continue their path towards a good spot in the FCS playoffs, moving forward. And then for the FBS, it might be too easy to say, but it's Jalen Milroe. I mean, for a long time under Nick Saban, they were able to get away with mediocre to okay quarterback play early in Saban's tenure. You had elite running backs and defenses that were just incredible and filled with NFL talent, and obviously guys like Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram and those types of dudes. But they don't have that obviously anymore. And we saw what they had last week with Ty Simpson and Tyler Buchner and against USF, and it was not pretty. It really wasn't. It really took a lot to beat a USF team who it's USF, no disrespect, but they're not Alabama. And yeah, it's kind of from what Saban said in the press conference, it seemed that the benching of Milroe was more of a lesson to see his mental fortitude. I guess it's from what I took away from it. So it's going to be interesting to see against an Ole Miss team with Lane Kiffin and all that. Lane Kiffin. We all know who Lane Kiffin is and what he's about, and Alabama could find themselves in big trouble if Jalen Milroe struggles again, because they have nobody to bail them out. And I feel we're in this period now where nobody's afraid of Alabama anymore. And if Jalen Milroe slips up and he doesn't play well, I don't know what they can fall back on, because they don't have a lot of elite. They have good talent. They're Alabama. They have talent, everywhere, but they don't have these elite backs and defenses to fall back on if Jalen Milroe struggles. And if he doesn't play well, that'll definitely be the end of Alabama this season, in my opinion.
Man, I want to talk more about your guys' picks than my picks. Brian bringing up Nate Lynn, he and John Pius form one of the most feared edge rushing duos in all of college football. Those two guys are absolute monsters leading that incredible Tribe defense, and we haven't even seen the best from Darius Wilson in their offense yet. Then Taylor, dude, Preston Stone, man. I'm so like I was gonna bring him up. I figured you might, so I'm glad that you did, so I didn't have to use one of mine on him. But dude, like you said, that Oklahoma game, that was 14-11. SMU had them on the ropes. You were there commentating the game. If SMU didn't have that fluke fumble, Preston and SMU win that game.
Yeah, the two critical mistakes, the blocked punt early in the game that got OU a little bit of momentum in the first quarter, and then that fumble. Oklahoma against Arkansas State in week 1 and then against Tulsa in week 3 had their way with both those teams on offense. Now, I don't think either one of those teams are very good on the defensive side of the ball, but SMU, after the game, Rhett Lashley talks about, look, we made them earn it. We made OU earn every yard, every point that they got, and they did. And the defensive side for them, SMU notoriously for years and years, back to when I was playing against them and before that, it just usually didn't have a very good defense. This is not that team. They've got good team speed. They've got size. Some of the transfers that Rhett Lashley's brought in, especially from Miami, those guys stepped up. And then look, it's a easy. The game gets a lot easier when you got one of the better quarterbacks in the country, and they certainly have that. If you had to redo the poll in the American right now, I would actually have them ahead of Tulane. I think they should be the favorite over Tulane. It's close, and I think obviously a ton of respect for Tulane and what they've done. But top down, really impressed with what SMU's done. We'll get a better sense again after this week against TCU.
Is that something that you voted for?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
They actually reached out to me after they put the poll together, and they were like, "We didn't send this to you. I guess I will be next year." But I would have had SMU ahead of them.
Yeah,
I probably would have had SMU ahead. I'm sorry, I would have had Tulane ahead of SMU in the preseason, but I probably would have had SMU ahead of UTSA going into the year. I thought, in all respect to UTSA and what Jeff Traylor's built, but having them in the 2 spot in their first year in the conference, even for what they did last year, I thought was maybe a little aggressive. And then, man, if you had to go back and look at that poll again, gosh, I mean, East Carolina is down there at the bottom with Charlotte. And then Rice is kind of in the middle now. So there's a lot of shuffling around that obviously you learn once you get into the first couple weeks of the season.
I know for my conference championship predictions, I had SMU over UTSA. I thought SMU was clearly the best team entering the year in due part because of Preston Stone and what we could expect, like the improvement from defense. Like I whiffed on Tulane. Like I really thought that there would be regression. I was wrong. I think I was too high on UTSA. I think that's just that Roadrunner blood I've had in me since I had a UTSA shirt in like middle school. But yeah, like again, very glad that you brought Preston and that Brian brought Nate Lynn. For me, Power 5 gone with Washington State quarterback Cam Ward. You got the Oregon State Beavers coming to the Palouse, and well, you know, we memed about the Pac-12 and blah 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 alliance a few years ago. This should be the real alliance, the Oregon Washington State Beef Cougs or something. Like these two teams should be chilling together, not looking to beat each other. Stinks they have to play each other. Cam Ward's got a mammoth opportunity this week to showcase his skill set and why he could be looked at for an NFL roster spot, or show everyone why he'd be crushing as a QB1 in the CFL or something, like a Vernon Adams. Like Cam Ward is legit. He's been on fire this season. You're going up a really stingy Oregon State defense with a great secondary. Love this test for Cam Ward. My Group of 5/FCS pick, I've become a sicko that is kind of enamored with Service Academy football in 2023. Air Force quarterback Zach Larrier or Zach Larrier, not sure if there's any French to it. He's from Youngstown, Ohio. This kid is a speed demon. We're talking about someone who lettered in football, basketball, and track. He's a 3-time conference champ in the 400-meter run, a 2-time in the 200-meter. Like he's just. If you look at the Air Force football page for Zach Larrier, nonstop track accolades after track accolades. He's just a different kind of beast when you get him. Like when you I don't know. I'm really excited watching him play. He's throwing the ball a good bit. Yeah, it's Air Force, so he hasn't even thrown for 200 yards yet. But he's completing his passes. He's doing what he's asked, and then he's rushing at such a high level because when he's out in open space, it's a literal blur. He was fantastic against Utah State. He's got San Jose State defense in San Jose this week that, pretty mediocre. He's got a big opportunity to really showcase that rushing ability. And at the end of the day, you're the quarterback of a service academy program. It's not about the production that you put out. It's about how well you could operate and fly that option offense. So if he doesn't put up big numbers, don't fault. Just look at how many points Air Force put up and know that he was a dang good pilot. Now we can move on to some game picks. Oh my, this slate is really, really good. And we can start with Florida State clubs.
Yeah. Look, I don't think this is one that just stinks out loud to me because Florida State is better than a field goal, but it's sitting at a 2.5. Leads me to believe Jordan Travis maybe not fully healthy. That's what this says to me. I still don't trust Clemson, and I think Florida State, Mike Norvell will have them, I think, motivated after how they played towards the end of that game against BC, where they almost blew it. I'm taking Florida State, and I think it's definitely by more than 3. I think it's probably closer to a touchdown.
Yeah, I think you alluded to that. I mean, I think the scare to Boston College kind of was a little bit of a wake up call. I think a lot of sometimes that's what a team needs to really really get the gears churning again after kind of getting a signature win. You kind of get a lull, and then you with the wake up call get the takeoff from there. So yeah, I think FSU is legit, and Clemson isn't. I mean, it's that simple. I don't think they're that good. They're not Clemson of old. They should still be feared because you have to give respect to Dabo Swinney, and that team. But I don't think I do agree with Taylor. I don't think it'll be a touchdown or more. I think for FSU.
So I am very intrigued by picking Clemson here for no reasons about the football game or anything. Like, it just doesn't make sense to actually pick Clemson. They're not even close to being the better team. But there's something about having that mental edge over another program that really makes me want to pick Clemson because Florida State's not really back until they beat Clemson. And I think, I don't know, how many people do we have pick games for us? Like 20? I think that there's going to be 19 other Florida State picks, despite the spread being 2.5, like Taylor said. So I could go out here and save us all with picking Clemson, like I planned to do, or I could take Florida State and just say, Dabo Swinney's team has to show me something because I haven't seen anything from them yet. Lest we forget the Charleston Southern debacle. And I ain't going to fault them for Duke because Duke's a dang good ball club, but they still look pretty awful there. Like really awful. I'm going to take Florida State, and I think I'm going to hate myself for it. I think Clemson's going to – they're going to take – like – SMU TCU.
I alluded to this earlier. I'm taking SMU not only to cover the 6.5, but I would have them winning outright. I think a little money line sprinkle on the ponies. I think they're the better team. TCU, they definitely looked better against Houston, but I don't think Houston's a very good offensive side of the ball. And again, from what we saw from SMU against Oklahoma, I have faith in that offense. I have faith in the front seven of that defense as well. So I have I have SMU winning outright.
I really wanted to go with SMU. I couldn't pull the trigger. I think TCU is going to win. I think Preston Stone is a baller. But I think, I mean, Chad Morris deserves his respect. I think he's a very good quarterback as well, and I think he'll do enough to win this game. But shout out SMU, recovering from the death penalty. I feel like they're finally getting out of that, and good for them. But yeah, they're not just yet. I'll go with TCU.
ACC program, 6.5-point underdogs here. Wow. Wow. Top tier ACC program, top tier AAC program. I think SMU's got to run the table. I think they're going to the New Year's Six. I think a lot more people are going to become hip to what we know, Taylor. Preston Stone is legit. There are not many quarterbacks in this country better than him. I could tell you one thing: Nick Saban would love to have this man quarterbacking his Crimson Tide right now. His NFL draft stock it's gonna explode at some point. It really is a ticking time bomb. I don't know how much longer people, whether they're NFL draft fans or they're just college football fans, could look away from SMU and look away from what Preston Stone is capable of. Hey, I want to see him throw for 500 in this game. I don't know if he's going to, but I want to see him put up some numbers. He had a stats day last week. He could have another this week. That TCU defense isn't much to me. I like Josh Newton, but goodness, I didn't get the TCU hype coming into the year. I couldn't care what happened. I couldn't care less about 2022. We're talking about 2023. No reason for that team to be ranked to start the season. No reason for that team to still be receiving votes. Preston Stone, SMU, shut TCU and the Froggies up. No cool Hypno-Toad video from the TCU football account after this week. Skillet goes to Dallas, and SMU, rank them. I don't care. Rank them. That 17-point loss to Oklahoma might have been the closest 17-point loss in the history of sports. Western Kentucky, Troy.
I'm going with the Hilltoppers, Western Kentucky, plus 3.5. Troy sitting at 1-2, close loss to JMU, and that's a good JMU team. Didn't play great against Kansas State. What concerns me is some of it was late, but giving up 30 to Stephen F. Austin, Western Kentucky scores, and it's hard to close them out. And this feels to me like, look, if Troy does win, it feels to me like it's late. It's a late field goal. It's maybe they win by a point or two, but getting past three, that three in the hook especially, was just too much for me. So I'm taking Western Kentucky.
Yeah, same here. I'm taking the Hilltoppers as well. I think Austin Reed is a better quarterback in this matchup, in my opinion. I think it'll be enough to get the. Sometimes it all comes down to which quarterback makes the fewest mistakes, and that one, that one throw that makes the difference, or that one big play. And I think Austin Reed can make that play. So I'm going to take the Hilltoppers in a close one.
Coming into the season, very low on Troy. I thought there'd be major regression because I don't like the identity of a team when they're elite defense, but they want to play low scoring games, coin flips more times than not. You can't replicate that level of success that they did last year, right? It's so hard to win coin flip game after coin flip game. Coming into this season, I mean, gave up 30 to Stephen F. Austin, gave up 40 plus to Kansas State, 16 James Madison. Yeah, because James Madison's a program that has the luxury of being able to play different brands of football. They just went for a slobber knocker kind of game. Watched the whole thing, was very impressed with JMU once again. Dude, if you think I'm picking against Austin Reed, Malachi Corley, Quantavius Leslie, Jaquez Donut Evans, and Upton Stout, you're out of your mind. Hilltoppers roll here, double-digit win. I don't care. I don't think this one's close. Troy's going to regress in a major way, and Western Kentucky's really got to pick their foot up on the gas here as they get healthy and just start scoring points in bunches, because we haven't seen Western Kentucky near their best thus far. I'm really excited to see what they could do in a very, Conference USA. Western Kentucky stock should explode in these next few weeks. Our next game is Ole Miss, Alabama. Not as big of a game, but
6.5, right? That's still the number. I'm going to go with Alabama. because this line stinks to me also, and I don't really know why. Alabama coming off a pretty terrible performance against South Florida. Lots been made of the back and forth with Tyler Buckner and Jalen Milroe and what's happening at the quarterback spot. I don't have a great reason for this. This is purely Alabama's playing at home, and Vegas knows something that we don't, and I don't trust. Maybe it has more to do with that. I just don't trust Ole Miss playing on the road in Tuscaloosa. So I will take Alabama at -6.5.
I'm gonna go with Ole Miss. I feel that like I said earlier, I don't think the Alabama fear is there anymore. For a while it was that no assistant has beaten Nick Saban, and then now you've had three in the last couple of years with, Jimbo Fisher, Kirby Smart, and then Steve Sarkisian a couple weeks ago. So I don't know. There's nothing that this Alabama team has shown that warrants its. I don't want to say the respect, because obviously a Nick Saban coach team, like I said, you have to respect them. But it's Lane Kiffin. I mean, I think he finally gets that signature win. He's been searching for that signature win as a head coach for a long time. He's had some, good wins, but I feel like this is that over the over the mountaintop, type of win that could bring to that Ole Miss program. So give me Ole Miss, and I could easily see Alabama demolish Ole Miss and get right back on track like they usually do. But as of right now, they haven't shown anything. Give me Ole Miss. But I will say Lane Kiffin has a knack of coaching himself out of wins. I feel like he did that last year against Alabama, where he was going for it on fourth down, a lot, and he just kind of would leave points on the board, and it just. But I feel if he doesn't do that, I think Ole Miss wins.
When we're all predicting things and everything, we've got to keep it relatively, fair with when we do victory laps for stuff we get right, and then you got to hate on ourselves for stuff we get wrong. Hand up, I was wrong. Alabama was not the #1 team entering the season. They're not going to make the national championship game and lose to at Penn State being in the Natty, but that ain't happening. I was wrong on Alabama. This team is not near as good as I thought. The defense is every bit as good as I thought, though. Like, that defense is legit. Headhunters everywhere. Deontay Lawson might be one of the most underappreciated players in the country. Breakout linebacker stud, should be a top 50 pick when he enters the NFL draft. The offensive line, for Kyron Samuels, former offensive lineman at Jacksonville State, he and I both thought entering the season, Alabama is going to dominate the trenches. They have the best offensive line. They do not. And it's not really on the kids' fault, because you look all around the offensive line, you see a special true freshman talent like Caden Proctor, who's starting at Alabama as a true freshman. You see J.C. Latham, who's going to be a first-round pick. You see Tyler Brooker, who could be picked in the first 2 rounds. You see all the talent they have. It's not their fault. The coaching staff made these guys too big. So what's happening is they can't move well, and they're not able to get out there and be forces in the run game and hold up in the pass game as a game develops, right? They were showing graphics against South Florida, and I only grabbed one of them for no context, so it's the only one I remember, but there was a graphic showing the heaviest offensive line in the NFL last year, or the average of the height and the weight of the heaviest offensive line was like 331, and Alabama's is up at like 358 or something. Like, these guys are too big. And what Alabama should want to do, what I thought they would do, is lean on that really elite defense, win them games, and then be the offense in the powerful run game that's going to wear teams down quarter after quarter, that's going to make special stuff happen and make teams hate playing this program and Saban. But the offensive line can't hold up, and it's really sad to see, because I mean, we just watched Alabama win 17-3 against South Florida, and it was the 4th quarter, and I'm hearing RG3 talk about Alabama's offensive line isn't even getting a push inside the 5-yard line. In the 4th quarter, against South Florida. They have major issues, and it seems as if everyone only wants to talk about the quarterback, which rightfully so. Drake May probably was the guy who was getting offered a massive amount of money from Alabama and didn't take it. They should have gone and tried to get Riley Leonard, Grayson McCall. Heck, Preston Stone. I don't know, but everyone wants to focus on the quarterback stuff. The offensive line is the biggest issue they've got because the coaches made them too big. I don't see how they could hold up, so I'm taking Ole Miss. Taking Ole Miss. UCLA, Utah, up next.
Oh, stand by. Hang on. I had it. Somebody give me the line.
Utah 4.5.
Utah 4.5. I will take Utah at 4.5, and that is primarily because I have more faith in them than I do in UCLA. It's not a team that I trust fully yet. This is the type of game, however, Chip Kelly offenses and teams in general tend to sleepwalk through their non-conference schedule, and then this is about the time of the year that they start to play a little better.
Yeah.
So I may end up eating my words on this, but I'll take Utah minus 4.5.
Yeah, I'll take Utah as well. I think Cam Rising is trending to making his debut this weekend, which will be huge for the Utes. I mean, even if he doesn't play, the quarterback at the quarterback position has done enough to win games, and I think that continues here. So I think if Cam Rising plays, I think that 4.5 they'll win by more. That they'll cover the spread. They'll be over 4.5. If not, then I could see them, winning a close one but I do think Utah wins.
It's a pretty fascinating matchup here. Like Dante Moore, like we overuse the word special. I'm well aware of that. But Dante Moore quite literally is a special talent. And how easy the game looks for him. I don't care that they played Coastal San Diego State and NC Central. I don't care if he was playing the Cordon Bleu, because the game just feels like it comes so naturally for him. And that's so surprising to see from a true freshman quarterback who didn't even win the job out of camp because of Chip Kelly's ineptitude. I tell it to Chip's face. That was a straight up mistake. Dante Moore is special, but this is his first big test. I don't know if the Dante Moore to J. Michael Sturdivant connection is going to be enough to will UCLA to this win. I really fear for UCLA's secondary in particular. I think the pass rush is very good, but if the pass rush isn't generating consistent pressure on Cam Rising, who's coming back from the ACL tear, or Nate Johnson, who Utah doesn't even trust to throw, which is another conversation because they should let that kid throw. UCLA secondary stinks. That's what I'm getting. I'm taking Utah. Colorado, Oregon on deck.
3 touchdowns is a lot. And I know Travis Hunter's not playing, and I know it's in Eugene, but Colorado has shown enough clearly that I think they should be trusted enough that they can keep it within 3 touchdowns. We'll see how big of a factor not having Travis Hunter is, but I'm taking Colorado to cover 21. A 3 touchdown dog for Coach Prime, I think that's too much. So I'll take Colorado.
Do you see Colorado winning outright?
No, I do not see them winning outright.
Okay.
I think Oregon wins this game. Oregon will win this game, but I don't think they beat Colorado by 3 touchdowns.
All right. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you, Taylor. I think Oregon wins. I don't think it's a 3 touchdown. I don't think they win by more than 3 touchdowns. They'll also Travis Hunter is huge. And it took 2 overtimes to beat a not so good Colorado State team. I know it was a rivalry week and there was a lot of, emotions behind that. But yeah, they do deserve respect. I think Colorado has earned that respect that should be given to them, but I don't think it's enough. Without Travis Hunter, I don't think it'll be enough to beat Oregon.
This is the first game of the season where Colorado's trenches on both sides of the ball, especially offensively, are really going to be tested. and this is the first game of the season where it's Sean Lewis's first real test. This is someone that I've really been intrigued by over the years at Kent State. He deserves a Power 5 head coaching job. He'll get it after this year, but this is that first like true test for he and Shador to really showcase what they've got. But I'm taking Oregon here. If Colorado wins, Deion Sanders, I don't know, like any school that's coming after Deion in a few months, Deion's just gonna have to hand them a blank check, or they're gonna hand Deion a blank check. It's gonna be like, pay me everything, and I'll come coach you. If Colorado wins this game, Deion's like the greatest coach that ever lived. Maybe not there yet, but BYU Kansas up next.
BYU just went on the road and beat Arkansas, and I know Arkansas is going to be certainly a bottom half of the SEC team this year, but BYU as almost a 10-point dog surprised me. Is Kansas that much better than Arkansas? And I don't know that they're 9 points better than BYU. So I'll take BYU and it's also been, I think it's interesting, they've been by far the surprise team out of the new 4 teams into the Big 12 this year. I think they have a chance to win this game. Now, I'm not taking them to win this game. I think KU will win, but I like BYU at +9.
Yeah, I've been very high on Kansas since last year. You know, what they kind of showed what they kind of flexed their muscles a little bit for the first time in a long time last season, and that's kind of carried over. I think Jalen Daniels is legit. Yeah, and there's no better test than a BYU team that just beat Arkansas. But like you said, Taylor, Arkansas is not expected to be very good, but and they are an SEC team. So give me Kansas to win. I'll say they win by 10.
I never really understood BYU being an 8-point dog last week, so I was very happy to pick BYU straight up last week for our pick'em. I'm very happy to do the same this week. I think Kansas is pretty overvalued here, and BYU is just undervalued. They've got a really good team. They've got a really good cornerback trio, and they have a really strong run game. Chase Roberts is a very underrated wide receiver. And when you look at Kansas, we're talking about they've played Missouri State, who that first half was a slugfest. What was going on there? Why was that game close? Illinois, Kansas boat raced them early on, and then they only win by 11. I think that was more so a product of Illinois not being prepared and not showing up for that game. And then Nevada, they beat Nevada by 7 points, 31-24, late night game while the Colorado State banger was happening. But you beat Nevada 31-24. I don't care if this game is played in Lawrence, if it's played in Reno, if it's played like at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, or if it's played on Pluto. There is no reason why this Kansas team should only be beating that Nevada team by 7 points. Same Nevada team that got blitzed by Idaho. Love Idaho, top tier FCS team and everything. Kansas isn't worthy of being a 10-point favorite here. They're not worthy of the hype they're getting yet. They haven't proven it. BYU's a tougher team than people are giving them credit for. So I'm taking BYU. Speaking of Idaho, they host Sacramento State.
The Vandals, give me Idaho. I mean, it's a wagon. I know they ended up losing to Cal, but jumped out 17-0. And you just mentioned them taking it to Nevada. That's a good football team. I think that will be a team that we certainly hear from in December and maybe even January later in the year in the FCS playoffs. But yeah, I'll take Idaho.
Yeah, give me the Vandals at home. The Kibbie Dome is the greatest stadium in the history of sports. So yeah, I like Idaho. I think that 17-0 lead to Cal. They ended up losing that game, but it shouldn't be unnoticed. It shouldn't go unnoticed what they did there. Yeah, I like the Vandals. Give me the Vandals.
I
put them back in the FBS too. They need to go back to the FBS. It's a travesty they got.
If they were in the Mountain West this year, they'd make the Mountain West championship game, and I have no doubt about that. This Idaho team is super legit. They could have easily won that game at Cal. I'm pretty sad that they squandered that opportunity and everything, but they still showed the coaches poll wrong. I don't know if you guys are aware. I've been very irate about where Idaho got ranked by the coaches in the preseason and every week since. They got ranked 13th to start the season, and the coaches pulling the FCS. I thought that was outrageous. I believe I have Idaho ranked entering the season. I had Idaho ranked number 4, one of the best teams in the FCS. They have the best quarterback receiver duo, Giovanni McCoy, Jerry Rice Award winner, and Hayden Haddon, who could be playing at a FBS school if he wanted to. These two guys are wild. Idaho's offense is nasty. Playing at the Kibby Dome, Sac State coming off that emotional win against Coach Taylor in Stanford. Maybe a little letdown here, but the Big Sky games get out of control. But I'm taking Idaho here, and like Taylor said, hopefully they're playing in January because these kids deserve it. Coach Eck deserves it, and that program deserves it after being, used to be in the FBS and they're not there anymore. And like everyone just kind of like cheers for Idaho because I don't know, because they're cute or something. I don't know. Like, take them seriously.
They were my all-time team in Road to Glory in NCAA. So,
there it is.
Always give me the Vandals no matter what.
I like everyone on our team's gonna pick them, I swear. Oregon State, Washington State.
We saw, I mean, I know Wisconsin's not great, but Washington State home dogs against Wisconsin. They took it to them. I think you'll see the same thing against Oregon State. I've watched Oregon State a couple times, the standalone game that Sunday afternoon in the opening weekend. I think Uyunglele certainly looks more comfortable in this pro-style offense compared to what he was running at Clemson, but I still don't think there's enough explosiveness in that offense. It feels very methodical, like they have to have the 10, 12 play drives every drive to score. And Washington State, it's tough to play in Pullman. So I'll take Washington State. I think they win outright, and I also take them at 2.5.
This is the one game where I was really back and forth on. I really didn't know which way I wanted it to go. So I had my 2-year-old son pick for me. He picked Oregon State. So that's the scientific analysis on that. DJU, the revenge tour continues for him in his comeback.
Brian, I'm pretty certain if we let our kids collectively make these picks for us every week, at least for me, I would probably have a better record if my 16-month-old did all this for me. So it's probably a good strategy.
Yeah. He's smart. He knows his football at 2 years old as much as the cookies that I had in front of me. He knew what he was picking. So yeah, he'll definitely have a better record if you picked every game for sure.
I like how that's what you guys got out of that. And then I was just thinking, I want to not so fast my friend Brian's kid so bad. I'm taking Washington State here. Look, we're talking about the Pac-12 so much, and rightfully so. They've got 8 teams ranked right now, but the rankings don't reflect how highly people are talking about this conference, and the AP voters just kind of stink. They just straight up do. I don't understand. If we're talking about the Pac-12 is the premier conference in college football right now, the rankings need to reflect that. I have Oregon State at 11. I have Washington State at 13, both ahead of Utah, both ahead of UCLA, Colorado, etc. Washington State could be one of the most disrespected and undervalued teams in the country right now. And part of that is something I will continue to echo, because people see Washington State, they don't think of a defense. They just don't. And that's a mistake. Dicker has come in here and provided this program with an elite physical defensive identity. They go out there, they hit hard. They've got ball hawks. Ron Stone off the edge could be an NFL player. Jaden Hicks at safety, NFL player. Shaw Smith Wade at cornerback, one of the most underrated corners in the country. In my opinion, should be a first-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. There's not disruptors like him out there. He's got the best peanut punch in college football. It's just a fascinating matchup here. I wish both teams could win. I picked Oregon State to make the Pac-12 championship and lose to Washington entering the season. I think Washington gets there. I don't know who the other team's going to be. I kind of hope it's Washington State. I want to see the Apple Cup in the Pac-12 championship, and I'm just going to have to continue to shout Washington State, man. They're one of the most underrated teams in the country, and I think that this is a prove-it game. I'm glad to be on your side here, Taylor. Ohio State, Notre Dame, our next one. Hate that we have to end it with such a snoozer.
Look, this is very simple to me. I think Notre Dame has a better quarterback, so I think they win outright, and I'll take them at +3 as well.
Yeah, that's literally that's what I have here. This is the biggest game of Sam Hartman's career. I trust him a little better than I do Kyle McCord. I think he's a better quarterback. I think this is what his career arc has come to, is to this moment, and I think he'll step up to that moment. And yeah, give me Notre Dame to win outright.
I just thought of something. I was just thinking of the Not So Fast, my friend, the Lee Corso mascot heads, and I was like, oh, what if I went and got a Buckeye head? And then I just kind of realized, well, you already see me, so I'm taking the Irish. You already know I'm taking Notre Dame. I think they're it's just straight up. I think they're the better team. I have them ranked higher than Ohio State right now. I have Notre Dame ranked 7th, Ohio State 10th. I think even 10 is generous for Ohio State. Another completely overvalued team. Ryan Day does more to hurt their offense than he does to help, but he gets bailed out by Brian Hartline and friends too. Last week, when Western Kentucky scored to Malachi Corley touchdown, something clicked for Ohio State. I don't know what it was. Austin Reed was hyping this guys up on the sideline, and then on the other sideline, something clicked. Ohio State found something with a quick vertical strike to Marvin Harrison Jr. that was just as simple as, that guy's fast. He's probably one of the best players in sport, top 2. Let's throw him the ball. You're not going to be able to have the luxury of doing that every play and seeing the avalanche continue on when you're playing Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Taking Notre Dame, man. I love Jeremiah Love too. True freshman running back that they've got. He's going to be a star in the making, and the offensive line truly is the best unit in the country. Joe Alt, people are mocking him like outside the top 10. That'll never make sense. That's a former tight end that you're seeing at left tackle, absolute star. Blake Fisher should be a fringe first-round guy too. Notre Dame has a really good team, and they're still going to lose to Duke in a few weeks.
That's a take.
I'm all in on Duke, man. You're not familiar with my Duke takes?
I maybe a little bit. I was not aware that. Let's see. I guess they're playing it at Duke, right? It's on the road for Notre Dame, and is that next week?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough stretch.
That's
right. They go into. That's right. I said that. I tweeted that.
Did you? You did?
I tweeted that. I was like, look, if Duke continues to run the schedule and Notre Dame beats Ohio State, I think Duke is one of the only Power 5 schools that game day still hasn't been to. I think.
Dang. Well, I feel like they might not. I feel like they might not do it then because they don't want back-to-back Notre Dame, so that would stink. But like that should be the no-brainer game day. Dude, I've been all in on Duke for. Oh, I think I was really big on them last year in the Riley Leonard stuff and everything, calling him QB3 in 2024 draft in November. But after we interviewed them in like January, February, it just clicked, and I was just all in on this team, and how he talked about Coach Elko had me wanting to run through brick wall after brick wall. I ranked them 17th in the preseason poll. I have them at 12th right now. That I had them making the ACC championship, losing to Florida State. I think their thing is that they don't have any name value on their team outside of Riley. Like if you ask 1,000 fans to name a player on their team, they're not even going to be able to tell you Graham Barden. So that's their issue. But they have like 6 guys in the secondary that are all very good players. The team is loaded. Sorry for getting the Duke hype, but I haven't got that in a few weeks.
No, it's all good. I love it.
Snoozer. But yeah, Taylor.
So
really,
I just looked it up. I just looked it up. And Duke has never hosted and have never been the visiting team or neutral site team for game day. So they've never been on it ever at all.
Okay, I was going to say there's only a couple left because Kansas got it last year. There's only a couple Power 5 schools that do not have one, or that haven't had it yet.
Well, we
Yeah,
need
there's
to
not
get
that
that
many.
going.
Cal, it looks like, is another one.
Cal
I
hasn't
was
had game day.
They were the
They
first name
haven't.
that like came to mind, but then I was like, surely they had back during the Rogers era or something, or maybe like
Wow,
a sneaky golf one. But jeez,
that's
They have
crazy.
they have a Pac-12. They have a Pac-12 bias, I think, or anti-bias because they have
West
to
Coast,
start their show at West Coast bias. Got to start their show at 6 a.m.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
And hey, man, if it doesn't happen for Duke Notre Dame, maybe Duke Florida State in about a month in Tallahassee. Maybe.
It's
I
true.
don't know. I just again really high on that Duke team. Riley Leonard might just be the most intelligent quarterback in the country. Watching him orchestrate that offense is super fun. We're going to see more of the vertical passing game soon. So that's a sneak preview for week 5, man. I'm all over Duke to beat Notre Dame. No biggie. Notre Dame over Ohio State this week. And all the other picks that Taylor said, because he's going to be right. He's going to go 10-0, top the guest standings. Thank you for joining us today, Taylor. We really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for having me on.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.
Please make sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Comment below who you think's gonna win this week, lose this week, disappoint, surprise, etc. We'll catch you back in a few days for week 5. Let's go, man.